right, this time we're going to practice doing some Punnett squares. So let's go ahead and work through these problems. Number 1, in dogs, wire hair, big S, is dominant to smooth, little s. In a cross of homozygous wire hair dogs with smooth haired dogs, what would that be? Okay, so let's go ahead and write down what the problem says. We have a cross of, we're homozygous, which means I'm the same, and I'm wire haired. And I know here that wire hair is big S. So my first parent will be big S, big S. And I have a smooth haired dog over here. And smooth is little s. So in order to be smooth, I have to have two little s's. I can't be big S, little s, because if I was big S, little s, I would have wire hair. So I know that this smooth haired dog is going to be little s, little s. All right, so these are my two parents. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in the Punnett square right here. So I'm going to take this first parent right here, and I'm going to put them right here. So big S, big S. And then I'm going to take these little guys and put them over here on the side. And I'm going to do little s, little s. And because s's look the same whether I'm big or little, I try and make them a little bit dramatic and make it really big and really small. Some of our other letters, it's really easy to tell, but S is kind of tricky. All right, and then you just fill in the Punnett square. So you're going to take this big S and drop it down. So I'm a big S, and I'm also going to drop it down here. I'm a big S. And then I'm going to cross this over, and I'll be a little s here, little s here. And I do the same for this box. Big S, and then this little s, and then this big S right here, and then this little teeny s right there. Okay? So that's the first part of the problem. And then it's going to ask for the genotype of the offspring. And remember, the genotype, okay, is what are the letters? What is the genetic makeup? And if I look at the offspring or everything inside the box, and if I look inside this box, all of them are big S, little s. So I have 100% of my offspring are big S, little s. And then the phenotype of the offspring is what does it physically look like, okay? And I know that I have wire hair dogs and I have smooth hair dogs. And I know that wire is dominant. And so when I see this big S here, I know that 100% of them have wired hair. So this is wire hair dogs. Okay, so 100% of the dogs have wire hair. All right, let's move on to problem number 2. All right, wood rats are medium-sized rodents with lots of interesting behaviors. You may know of them as pack rats. Let's assume that the trait of bringing home shiny objects, big H, is dominant to the trait of carrying home only dull objects, little h. Suppose two heterozygous individuals are crossed. What would be? All right, so we have two heterozygous individuals. That means I am big H crossed with another big H, little h. So big H, little h crossed with big H, little h. All right, and I'm going to put those in my Punnett square right here. So I have big H and little h, and I have another big H and a little h right there. All right, and then we just we fill in the Punnett square. So we drag down this one right here. So this big H goes here, and this one goes here, and then I put it over here. All right, and then I have another big H, little h, and little h, little h. Now I want to point something out here, which I did not do in the last problem. We always put our capital letter first. So when we're looking at our two boxes and they meet here in the middle, I always put the capital letter first. So I would never write little h, big H. So I always put a capital letter before the lowercase. Okay? All right, so the next thing is, what are the genotypes of the offspring that I have? Well, I actually have 3 different genotypes here. I have 3 different combinations. Okay, so I have big H, okay, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a line through it to know that I used it. The next one I have is big H, little h, okay. And I have 2 of those. So, all right, and let me actually write how many I have. I have 1, big H, and then we can put a colon to separate those 2. And I have 2, big H, little h. Okay, and then the last one I have down here is little h, little h. and there's one of those. And we call that a ratio. So down here at the bottom, I have a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. All right, then the next thing it says, what is the phenotype of the offspring? So that, what does it physically look like? So my big H, okay, what does that gene do? That says it brings home shiny objects, okay? And I also have that big H, little h here. That's also, so these two bring home shiny objects. Okay, now this is the genotype and this is the phenotype right here. And so if I count, I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have 3 of them that bring home shiny objects. Right, and then my other genotype was little h, right? So the phenotype that went with that was one that brought home, I guess, dull objects, right? So this is bring home dull objects, right? And if you look, I only have one of those. So my phenotypic ratio is 3 to 1 in that case. Okay. All right, so let's look at number 3. Number 3 actually goes on 2 different pages. So we'll start on the first page and then actually I could just go like this, sort of. All right, let's see if we have it all on one page, sort of. All right, saguaro cacti are very tall cylindrical plants that usually have 2 L-shaped arms, one on each side. Suppose you live in southwestern Arizona where the saguaro cactus is common and you happen to have one growing in your yard. Your saguaro has 2 arms, but one is longer than the other. Now assume that arm length in these cacti are controlled by a single gene, with arms of the same length as big A being dominant to arms of different lengths. So just so you guys get a perspective or whatever, that cacti, that's that big, huge cactus that kind of looks like this. I'm not a great artist, but so if I'm the same length right here, all right, that would be big A. And if these cacti have like one short arm and then one long arm like this, okay, that would be little a. So this would be same, and this is different. Okay, so what are our parents here? All right, now what is the, now assume that the arm length cactus, I'm sorry, I have to read through this problem. Suppose you live in Southern Arizona and you happen to have one growing in your yard. Yours has 2 arms, but one is longer than the other. So that means I have them of different lengths. So in order to only have them of different lengths, it would have to be little a, okay? Because if I was big A, I would be the same. And if I was big A, it would also be the same. So I know that these are not possible. So my genotype has to be little a. Okay, and then on the next page, on the back, it says that if you're a cactus, so that it says you cactus, but it's your cactus, so that means my little a, fertilizes a cactus that is heterozygous for arms of the same length, what would be the genotype? So that's saying if I have this. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put that in our Punnett square. So we'll take this and put it at the top. Okay, and we'll take this over here and we'll put him on the side. All right, and let's figure out what's going to be going on in this Punnett square. So I'm going to bring that A down. I have big A, little a. I'm going to bring that other big A, little a. And then I'm going to bring these over, little a, and little a. Okay, so what are the genotypes of my offspring? Well, I have offspring are inside the box, and I have 2 different genotypes. I have big A, and little a. All right, now if I'm going to do the ratio, so what is my genotypic ratio? I'm going to say, well, I have 2 here and 2 here, so that would be a 2 to 2. But it really makes more sense to reduce it, and so when I reduce it, it's a 1 to 1. So I'm a 1 to 1 ratio. That means 50% of my offspring are going to have arms of different length, or the same length, and 50% are going to have arms of different length. All right, and the phenotype. Okay, so this one right here is going to be the same length. Okay, and then half of mine are going to be this little a, which is different length. Okay, and again, I'm a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay. All right, next question. The common grackle is a species of robin-sized blackbirds that are fairly